welcome to the first episode of Behind the Bricks, our brand new podcast where we explore the ideas, people and places shaping the future of UAE real estate. I'm Luke Remington, Managing Director at House & House, and I'm joined by my co-host and fellow MD, Simon Baker. For this episode, we're honoured to be joined by Lana Sawiris, Chief Commercial Officer at ORA, and Mo Khalil, Head of Sales at ORA. Together, we're deep diving into the philosophy, ambition and design ethos behind Bayn, ORA's bold new master development that promises to reimagine time. Lana, Mo, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. We're honoured.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Great to be here.
Good to see you. I've been speaking to you, Mo, I think probably since the start of this year. I'm really interested about the whole Bayn concept. And as you know, I bought there myself, so I'm a big believer of it. But I'm going to start with you, Lana, because I hear that the name and the creation was your kind of baby. You've taken this on, so maybe you can start us off.
I joined ORA earlier this year in January, and it was when the concept of the development was coming to life and names were being, thought of and presented, and I just wasn't that convinced by what was shown.
Was there quite a few names that were being thrown around?
Yeah, a couple.
Okay.
But it was my first week in. I didn't want to step over anyone's toes. I was like, okay, let's see where the conversation goes once everyone has presented their sort of ideas. And then it just came to me over the weekend when I was talking to my father about the project and where we are, which I think the biggest selling point is just our location, and then thinking about how that could just come to life with a brand that people can start recognizing, people can relate to, can understand where we are, what we stand for, and then, Bayn was born.
It's amazing. So just touch on, you talked about the location. Mm-hmm. So for those that are listening that don't speak Arabic and don't know about Bayn, give us a bit of an understanding about it.
Bayn in Arabic means in between, right? Okay. So you say, at least in Egyptian Arabic, you say mabayn, or it is essentially means that we are in between two places. Okay. And when we looked at, our location in Ghantoot, we said, okay, we are genuinely right in the middle between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Mm. So I said, okay, the name is easy for anyone to say in any language. It represents where we are. The concept of our emblem or our icon is the Y, the letter Y, which essentially came from the idea of two lines connecting into one, so Abu Dhabi and Dubai connecting into Bayn.
Wow, amazing! Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I didn't think of that before you said it now. And your philosophy, your personal philosophy, when it comes to this development.
Look, I think about it. I myself bought not because it's our development, but because it's genuinely a place that I see myself wanting to live in the next 10, 15 years. I think about our generation, I think about the future generation and what kind of community I'd want to live in. Mm. So bringing that concept of, community balance, for me it's generally like, where would I want to live? Where would I want my kids to live? Having the ability to go to a sports club or going to the marina or going to a beach club if I want to have a good time out. So having that idea in mind and thinking about what genuinely would mean in terms of like having a home for my future, what would I want to bring in any development? So that's why it was very key to be involved in it.
Interesting.
Brilliant. Lana, you're chairman, Naguib Sawiris. He speaks of happiness and trust as core values. How does that translate into, ORA and the development itself in practice?
Integrity. And I think trust was such a key thing for us in our family, just as a family value that we hold very dear to us and we prioritize it above everything. So when my dad did ORA or created ORA, I think the first and foremost key value that he kept in mind is how can people trusted him, trusted his name, trusted our family name, and how can we bring that into people's homes? So I think as long as we keep that at the forefront of everything we do and have integrity while doing it, that's the most important.
That's quite an amazing legacy as a sort of third generation. Yeah. Is that a big responsibility, do you feel? Or?
Yes, of course, but it's more of an honor. I feel like they didn't work this hard for us to not continue that, and in everything we do, whether personal or professional, we keep that.
You've grown up in a family of entrepreneurs. How has that influenced your vision and your leadership?
I was very proud of seeing everything that they built, and I said, okay, I can't wait to continue that for them, right? They didn't work this hard for us to then. And I think that's across the entire family. I felt very responsible in continuing that, and that's why I joined even the company back in Jan. And I think it's very exciting to be able to take what they built as a foundation and really take it forward.
It's amazing. It really is.
No, fantastic. So jumping into, for both of you, Lana and Loth, the project itself, jump to looking at Bayn. You talk about reimagining time. I mean, what does that really mean? If you're just listening to this, what does that mean?
A lot of people ask us what reimagining time means, right? Because you can't necessarily describe time, but I think for us, the reason we use that as our tagline, it's time is so valuable, and you only, it's a respect towards time that we're trying to do. We're allowing people to really use it to the best of their abilities, to give them the option of having time with their family or being active or having a good time. And it's more of a philosophy rather than a descriptive, this is what we do, but it's allowing them that luxury.
Interesting.
I also think it's about giving people some of their time back. So we all live here and we all know how much time you spend in traffic and rushing between commitments. So if you manage to give people some time back, whether it's the school drop-off or whether it's walking to the beach as opposed to driving 40 minutes to the beach, and it's about creating moments that perhaps feels longer just because they're calmer. And this is basically at the forefront of the design of the whole community.
That's interesting. I think we all live very hectic lives here, don't we?
Exactly.
Time seems to go very fast, so I think that's a really nice concept.
Yeah,
the idea
it's
of
about
reimagining
how you live it versus where you are.
I guess it probably means something different to everybody as well, right? It's sort of giving it back to the consumer to say, well, how do you want to spend all your free time?
Exactly. So you can drop your kids to school in 15 minutes as opposed to driving for 45 minutes if you are using all the amenities that are available within the community.
Jumping into location, you've mentioned before, already that Bayn is in between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. What else specifically, Mo, makes it strategic in terms of that position?
Okay, so if you look at it, Bayn sits at the confluence or at the junction of two major economic hubs, major global cities, so Abu Dhabi and Dubai. We're in the Abu Dhabi side, so we are about 35 minutes from Dubai and almost an equal distance to Abu Dhabi. So in Abu Dhabi, you've got the robust policies and upwards trajectory in real estate growth, as we all know and as we're all following. You guys are very savvy in following the market data yourselves, as well as having Dubai as a global connection hub and the fast-paced lifestyle. So basically, if you are in Bayn, you're effectively riding both waves and being at the center of a meeting point of two major cities. And also, if you look at our timing could not have been better. So if you look at what the government is doing and the infrastructure footprint expansion that is going in this direction, whether it's the Jebel Ali beach, which is stretching from Jebel Ali all the way down to Ghantoot, the Al Maktoum airport, the potential expansion of the network for the metro that's going all the way down to Ghantoot, as well as the high-speed rail. So all of these are indications as to why this is becoming the next big thing, and this corridor is becoming the most exciting corridor of leisure and living between Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, this is the first project for you guys in the UAE, right? And what is there? You've launched in how many other countries?
7 different countries.
7 countries, 17 to 20 different developments. Was there a reason that you particularly chose this spot? I can think of what I think, and that's because when I've seen your dad on the North Coast and that beach vibe, to then see him inland in Dubai South probably wouldn't be something I would be assuming.
Exactly.
So was it waiting for this jewel to come up?
100%.
It was.
I think my father is in love with this country, right? And he definitely knew he wanted to do something here. Okay. And like you said, you called it a jewel. It really is a jewel. And Ghantoot, with its culture and its history and its beach and its water, and having the ability to be, 25 minutes to Dubai, 25 minutes to Abu Dhabi. Dubai is very lively, and Abu Dhabi is very calm.
Yeah.
And the two of them kind of describe my father. So he feels like Ghantoot allowed him to have that development that can give people the balance of both.
And Mo, a lot of people are coming to buy and they're coming to the sales centre, and you've got a fantastic sales centre that you've recently opened. But do people, what are they saying when you say Ghantoot? Or you're saying Bayn and you're saying in between and the Y and it's meeting. Do people know Ghantoot? Have they heard of Ghantoot? Is it a stumbling block?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. A lot of people actually have heard of Ghantoot for various reasons. A lot of the locals actually, and we had a large portion of the buyers in our first launch were locals, and that for me only demonstrates the belief of the locals in this location.
100%.
Also, you've got the savvy investors like yourself who bought into the project and they see the potential of this area. This is also a very pristine and a very beautiful coastline, and there aren't many available sort of untouched pristine coastlines in the Emirates at the moment within reach to Dubai or to Abu Dhabi as well. So I mean, Ghantoot does ring a bell with most of the locals. Also, with the people who are new to the Emirates, they are getting to know Ghantoot because they drive past it every day. You have all the cross-city commuters that are working between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. They drive past it every day. So Ghantoot does ring a bell with many people. And when you think you're building a town, a coastal town between the two Emirates, then it even gets more exciting for people to consider an investment or a home there within the next few years to come.
Yeah. And it's got a large amount of beach.
So we have 1.2 kilometers of beach.
Okay.
The site is about 4.8 million square meters.
Okay.
Of which we have 55% is open spaces, open parks, connected by green spine, pedestrian and cycling pathways, community centres, nurseries, schools. We've got a marina, we've got a beach town, so you've got leisure offerings as well. So it is a mini city that is built between the two cities, and that's what's most exciting about it.
Yeah. And you're talking around 8,500 units within the development?
It's in excess of it's about in excess of 9,000 units, and it's a mix between townhouses, villas, apartments. We've also got a 250 keys resort within the development as well.
Okay.
It's going to be run by our own hospitality brand. We would like to look at it as a destination as opposed to a project. That you can have a fully integrated real estate development where you can feel at home, but you can also have the access to the vibrancy and the urban conveniences that any city would offer.
I know it's cliche, but you've got a lot of competition being built all around Dubai and Abu Dhabi. How do you... I've been lucky enough to spend the last couple of summers in Egypt, so I kind of feel... I believe I can feel what you guys...
The North Coast?
Yeah, I do feel it. And I was lucky enough to come to Silver Sands. So how do you keep that community connected when you're doing 8,000 plus units on the beach? Like you were talking about your father wanting to have the hustle and the bustle, but also have that calm side. How do you gel it?
It's a great question, because I think we have an amazing development team that had that thought in their minds while designing the master plan. And basically what you try to do is you try to create distinct neighborhood clusters, so the residents feel that they live in a village within the community. So each cluster will have its own trail parks, playgrounds, clubhouse, if you like. And adding on to that, you have the natural activation of the site. So you've got the daily touch points like the schools or the sports complex. We're also building the first of its kind sports complex in the UAE.
Right.
And places like the marina or the retail or whatever, where people start sort of crossing paths with each other, they start recognizing faces, and then you start getting the sense of the community. So within the large master plan, you'll have little neighborhoods and little village clusters that feel like a city within the city, or a village within the city rather.
Yeah.
It sounds like your development team's really thought about and spent a lot of love and care.
Absolutely,
over
absolutely.
Sure
Yeah,
not
to be biased.
not to be biased. Yeah, no, you fully deserve to be. So, no, but is it to make it a really personal community, despite the fact that it is a big master plan?
Yeah.
You've just touched on the fact that you've got 8,000 plus units. You've got obviously the sports complex, all these different bits. I've heard you say, Mo, that you call it like a 15-minute city. What do you mean by that? Is that just a geographical term?
This was also at the forefront of the design with the design team and the development team. So how to make everything within proximity. So you can cycle or walk and do your school drop-off within 15 minutes. You can go to your neighborhood gym within 15 minutes. You can then go and sort of have a morning coffee at the marina, which is also about 15 minutes or cycle away. So it's all about having everything within the radius, your wellness, your gym, which is also part of the wellness, your school, and also we have a business park, so you can potentially work from there as well. So this is at the heart of the design idea, was to make everything within a close proximity, within a 15-minute radius.
In a fully sort of integrated community.
Correct.
It's got everything there. It ticks
I
all
was
the
gonna
boxes.
say, you have
I mean, that
everything you
15-minute idea, I think recently, when it takes half an hour to get anywhere in Dubai, so Abu Dhabi's probably a bit quicker, but I think that would be very refreshing for a lot of people.
That's the
Let alone
plan.
by bike.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think the idea that you could spend more time outdoors, and the weather here for 6, 7, 8 months of the year is incredible. So people should be doing as much outdoor activities, family, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, having that ability to work, but also enjoy family time, but also go to the sports club, but also go to the marina. Like, I think most people, at least for myself, will not want to leave.
Yeah, no, amazing. Yeah, that sounds really good. And hopefully, I think you touched on it earlier. You get that
I'm
the
trying to
balance between
implement.
Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go and have a lively dinner, you could drive to Dubai in half an hour.
Exactly.
And if you wanted to have a more quiet one, because they're quite different, Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Exactly.
It's a nice fusion of buzz and quiet, while being able to access both, and you're not isolated. So you're not trading off access for peace, or you have it all basically.
Lana, you've been brought in for this project start of this year. Sorry to emphasize this, but it just feels like 17 projects, the first one in the UAE. You've come in for this one. What are you going to do, and how would you define this, against big developers as well all around? And for those that maybe haven't heard that ORA name as much, but they've heard of the family name.
I think having people know who it's founded by is important.
Yeah.
Of course, things get to be associated with a person more than just a corporate company that's coming here to build, sell off, and then walk away.
Yeah.
For me, like Mo said, having no trade-offs is what led to our tagline being a community without compromise, because anybody who knows what we stand for at ORA, which is one of our pillars is excellence, right? And my father says this quite often, which is, if you can't do something perfectly, you should not do it at all. Wow. So being very detail-oriented, being perfectionist in everything that's going in, where would he want to live? Where would I want to live? And bringing that into what our definition of a home is, versus it being more of a commercial standard.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
So bringing that in is very important. That's why I'm making sure when it comes to our offering, it includes being active. It includes wellness areas, a huge sports club, and a sports club we're bringing that concept from Egypt, which is how I grew up.
Yeah.
Going to the sports clubs where I saw my friends, where we'd have dinners or we'd have gatherings. It was more so there over being able to go to a restaurant, or going out. So that community the sports club gave me growing up is what we want to build here.
Yeah.
Around activity, and then also the beach in Ghantoot and the water in Ghantoot is incredible. So having the ability to have a beach club there, whether it's quiet or one that is going to have more of an active, lifestyle type of thing, and bringing those concepts in was so important for us, and being very detail-oriented in that.
And that could be the reason that people feel this, and that's when they're coming down to sales, and that's why you have sold out so quickly. The first 2 phases?
We've launched 3 clusters since the inception back in April, and every launch was a great success. We managed to sell out within 72 hours of the release, and I think this is all pure excitement and belief, and a rather different offering, and I think it stood out to many people. Like we touched on before, you invested yourself, and you've been in the market for so long, and you saw the potential in such location, and the different proposition that we bring. It's a very compelling opportunity for many real estate savvy investors, also for end users who are seeking the lifestyle. We have a lot of people who came in and they're actually buying into the idea of having a home by the beach, whilst also not feeling too isolated. So you're not trading off nature for practicality. You can still have a house by the beach, and you're still not a million miles away from anything that you want to be doing on a daily basis. So yes, we had a great launch, and we will be continuing to release more exciting phases. Yes.
Yeah.
I think a big thing is trust. in the name,
Yeah.
right? Like knowing that we do what we promise,
Yeah.
right? So we will never do something that we can't commit to and we can't stand for. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people bought into that because they knew, I don't want to say reputation, but yeah, the reputation the family has when it comes to anything we do in any type of business.
Because it's not only in Egypt, you've
Yeah.
been at Iraq, I saw, you've been in Grenada,
We're in
Greece.
Grenada, we're launching in Greece, yes. In
Cyprus,
next year.
I saw in Ayia Napa,
Cyprus,
they're
Ayia Napa,
changing all that area around. and stuff.
Exactly. So Ayia Napa in Cyprus is a beautiful project.
Yeah.
We're in Pakistan as well. We're in Egypt. We're in Grenada in the Caribbean. We're launching in Greece, as you mentioned. So going to these places that, you know, my father genuinely fell in love with and saw being able to bring and add value to these places and building what we would want if we were there as a community.
Okay.
No, I think that reputation goes a very long way. You know, very modestly said it probably, you know, but I think actually it's a huge thing because for a new developer effectively in the UAE to come in and, as Maurice said, sell out three phases or three clusters, should we say, of townhouses and villas. When it comes to that, Mo, you touched a little bit on the buyers for Bayn, but I mean, would you say there's a typical, if you had to sort of draw your Bayn buyer, is there a typical investor or end user looking?
I wouldn't box it in a typical investor or an end user. So I'd say it's an equally balanced hybrid mix of both. So you have, as I said, the young aspiring and the people who are familiar with the area and they want a house in this coastline. Also, you have the investors who can see beyond and can see the future-proof proposition that we have with everything that's going that we touched on before and the location. So I'd say it's a mix of both, like equal. So a lot of people also bought maybe more than like maybe 1 or 2 units, one that can be used themselves and one perhaps for the children or one as an investment. So I would say it's a mix of both investment buyers and also end users.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I think it does seem, certainly from the outside, that you've got an overwhelming response of people who were going to, you know, buy it to live in, which is probably, you know, let's be honest.
There's no pressure on us at all.
No pressure at all. Yeah, but no, because typically in Dubai, you know, in Dubai off-plan real estate, people are it's very investor focused.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who are literally buying it, thinking, right, when can I sell? And certainly, I know, you know, Luke was looking at it as something long term. Various other people, you know, that we know we're looking at a very long term for yourself, which is testament to what you're trying to build, which I think puts a lot of confidence in end users as well as investors, right?
I have a philosophy on why we sold out besides the obvious, which is like I have a few of my friends who also bought or, you know, convinced others to buy because they want to know that they're going to be living in a place and a community that allows them to be near people they know or meet new people or, you know, they stand for the same sort of values within our community. So we're not, you know, selling to you know, mass. We're selling genuinely to people who want to be there. And I think it's more so people who look at it long term, like
which is fantastic, and actually it makes it an even better investment for those investors that are looking for a short term, because it means there's probably going to be less units on the market in the future on research, which is exciting. Yeah,
it's difficult for me to try and describe or put into words what I feel from that time I spent in Egypt, but I do feel getting your coffee, walking past people.
It's the best.
It's not like you just walk past and they don't even say hi or bye. Like, people do want to literally, how is your day? You know, can I have a seat and have a coffee with you? It's that kind of real community feel that you can imagine if you got your kids or you go into the sports club.
Exactly.
So I don't know whether the golf buggies will come in and all this kind of stuff, but, you know, having that close proximity to the sea and that kind of stuff.
It's also like all the partners that we're trying to bring into this project, right? So to have people be familiar with them or not familiar and recognizing who we're bringing in will also be a big part of, you know, our project.
But as in terms of buyers or as in terms of...
No, in terms of operators. Whether it's F&B, whether it's the beach clubs, you know, whether it's a sports partner. So just who we're thinking of and how we're curating that will allow people to also build that.
I understand about the sports club and this kind of concept that you're talking about in Egypt, and I think they look into your backgrounds and see whether you can, and they're quite expensive to join these.
When you think of a sports club in the US, for example, it's very different than when you think of it in Egypt.
Okay.
In America, it's more like a membership you have to apply. It's
Yeah.
like white uniforms.
Like
It's
golfy kind
it's
of
more around people
Wimbledon.
with money.
Okay.
Versus in Egypt, it's very much just families, you know,
Okay.
all different types of sports. It's not fancy at all.
And this is what you're talking about within the development when you talk a sports club.
It's allowing kids to be there with their friends, you know, play any sort of sports.
Wow.
It's not more so for the parents, it's more so for the kids. And they're a cool spot to hang out more or less. Of course, the parents are going to enjoy it.
So yeah, so you for example, you drop your kids off at the tennis academy or because rather than just having sports fields, it's actually an academy. There are organized academies where you apply and you go through the natural progression of getting better at the sport. While your kid is at the academy, you're meeting with other parents, having a coffee at the clubhouse or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a social gathering, and it's also again one of those touch points that creates the community where you meet other residents, where your kids make friends with other kids in the academy, whether it's tennis, whether it's football, swimming, whatever it is. So this is the idea of the sports club. How we grew up in Egypt, we've always had that in the fabric of the society. It's part of every.
Really?
I made friends at the sports club that I'm still friends with now.
No, it's really good concept. It's something like you say, right? It's unique to Bayn, and you know, coming in and it saves.
Yeah, it's a very refreshing idea that the developer's actually being involved in creating a family community as opposed to just the sort of physical real estate side of it. It's fine, isn't it? But then to extend that even further and you know, create all these clubs and everything else is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to live there, so I want it to be. You know, somewhere I'd be happy never leaving, like I said.
And I think that's really means so much to buyers, to feel that you're going to be there. It speaks for itself, doesn't it? You know, you don't really need to say much more than it says it all. Mo, we touched on the buyers, but there's a diverse mix of cultures within.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There has been a very diverse mix of all nationalities. Also, you have that in mind whilst designing the project, so everybody feels included, and it's human-centric in terms in the way it's designed, so everybody feels that they belong in the community, whether it's like being by the open parks or having your garden open up to the other garden, and space, walkability, all of these things were in our minds while developing the project, so that we can appeal to every nationality and every sort of group of buyers, if you like.
That's fantastic. Are there any other things, Mo, you're noticing about buyers' behaviours in today's market? Have you noticed things change in your time here? Or?
I would say it's like buyers are obviously doing more homework. Most of the buyers, they have very good agents like yourselves advising them as well. So it's informed decisions that are being taken. It's buying with intention as well. And obviously one of the major things I think that affects the buyer's decision at the moment is the trust and the belief in the developer and the brand that's providing the project. So yeah, I think the decisions are more about longevity, intention, and also, of course, the potential upside that needs to be a fundamental part of the decision making as well.
What's coming next for ORA and for Bayn, for both of you? I mean, Lana, you go first. What's in the pipeline that people should be looking out for?
I think I mentioned it briefly, but we're opening in Greece. We're launching in Greece. We're opening our hotel group there, or brand, more or less, in Mykonos, which is super exciting. I think for us, our hotels are currently just in Grenada and the Caribbean, which is just, you know, I think targeting more US, you know, UK, but Mykonos is such a flagship in a way for us, especially with our hotel. So that's coming. Very excited for it. We're launching a new brand as well, so that will be one.
And this
One to
brand,
watch out for.
brand will be in Bayn as well.
Yes, that's going to be the hotel that's going to be in Bayn.
Okay.
But this will be the first one we're opening before.
In Mykonos.
Yeah. Then in Bayn, in the north coast in Egypt, in our project Silver Sands.
Wow.
And then we also signed Tunisia, so that's also going to be a hotel with some residences.
It's become more and more difficult, isn't it? As the UAE population grows, there's all kinds of developers cropping up. Everyone's building communities, everyone's doing the best, the biggest, the this and that. But sometimes it's easier said than done.
Exactly.
Of course.
And I think that's the real difference that I think you've put across in just the 30 or 40 odd minutes that we've been talking, is that personal touch that you're bringing with it.
And our track record. Like, it's not our first development, right?
Yeah,
so
of
you
course.
could look at our track record in Egypt, our track record in Grenada, in Cyprus, like you said, Ain Napa is beautiful, but bringing that value there, we have a track record that shows that.
How are you feeling that it's going to be, Lana, in comparison to doing a development in these other countries? Obviously, you've got a lot of things, you've got the planners and all these kind of things, but are you going to see much of a difference bringing it here, or it's just...
I mean, the UAE is very special. The way they do things here, the way they're organized, the way they really generally think about how people live here and how we can make it better.
Yeah.
I think for us has been such a breath of fresh air coming in. It's unlike any of our other developments.
It'll be going to the next level.
Yeah. Just because of where we are.
Yeah.
Like the UAE's platform.
Yeah, and that, you're not probably doing yourself justice in what you guys can do, and I think you've done really well in promoting it and saying you're doing as you say. I really would advise anyone to come down and just speak to you and sit with yourself, Mo, or Manal, who I dealt with, just to get an understanding of the concept of Bayn. It really is truly special. So
it also makes a difference when you actually drive down to the site and get a feel of how special that coastline is. That changes everything.
And how close it is.
Yeah.
It really is that close. It is. And that's, before we were talking about it, Simon and I live in Arabian ranches, and years ago, people said, God, you live out there. But things have moved on, haven't they?
That's the thing as well. Like at the launch, I recall our chairman had the idea of actually launching on site.
Yeah.
And some people were like, okay, the site is not ready, but let's maybe launch it in a typical launch in a hotel ballroom. But he insisted, and he was absolutely spot on, to get people to actually drive to the site.
Yeah.
And when you drive to the site, then you get a feel of the distance. And when you're there, you actually realize how close it is, how it's spot on being Bayn, because it's Bayn between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and it takes you absolutely 30 minutes to get anywhere in Dubai, like Simon touched on before.
Yeah.
So it's actually a straight line on Sheikh Zayed Road, off the Sheikh Zayed Road. You don't have to drive deep inwards to get to the site. It's very accessible.
I remember the meeting where people were trying to convince him not to do it on the site because it is a construction site.
Yeah.
And they were showing him different ballrooms, hotels we could do the launch in, and he was like, "We're doing it there. You need to figure it out." And everyone's like, "Okay."
The father's obviously a very smart man. I mean, we spoke earlier about the location, the fact that Dubai's been moving southwards, down the coast for the last 20 years.
100%.
And actually, timing-wise, the fact that, Palm Jubilee is right next door, and there's so many developments, and a short 5 or 6 years away, once Emirates moves all their operations to the
Exactly.
Dubai World Central, and suddenly you're going to be just next door. And then I think it's probably a very smart move for investors, but also for yourself in choosing that plot in the first place.
And I think what we're doing as well, which is actually building the homes alongside all the leisure offerings, as opposed to starting with the homes and then coming in with the hotels, which makes it a bit disconnected, and you could expect a time lag between both, while what we're doing is developing in tandem the offerings of the leisure or F&B and schools, whatever, in line with the residential, with the delivery of the units as well.
The launching was done right. I think you've done townhouses and villas. I mean, the fact is that there's been a shortage of townhouses and villas. When we look at a lot of the numbers, I think it's something like 72% of all new launches this year were studios and one-bedroom apartments.
Exactly.
So there's probably, if I was going to say something to build less of, there's probably build less really small apartments, because it's not just about ticket price. It's all about coming up with something that people want to live in the future, which is really, really important. And that community bit, and having decent-sized homes for people to stay in is much more relevant than just the price of something on a billboard, as you said.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to your question about what's next for Bayn, Simon, is that we have our most exclusive beach neighborhood is coming soon to the market. I say to the market, we will be launching it towards the end of this year or early next year, and it's going to be our most exclusive villas and beach mansions cluster on the beach, coming soon. Stay tuned.
So for the lucky few, have you got a rough price range you can tease us with?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Okay, so
They'll be the highest tickets.
They're going to be very high-end luxury villas on the beach. So
Yeah, I mean,
something to keep a lookout
this is
for
the
if you're
jewel.
to be in that position. Yeah.
This is the jewel of the project.
Yeah, it's a crown jewel of the project, basically. It's a very rare offering of beach and villa mansions. They're all on a gentle slope. Every unit has an unobstructed view to the sea.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's rare and it's exclusive. Also, we have the branded residences that will be coming also early next year. So obviously you guys are, we talk to you on a weekly basis, so you'll be the first to know.
Fantastic. Well, thank you
It's amazing.
so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you for having us.
It's really, really interesting. Thank you.